What should you expect in a product manager interview? Stay tuned to find out. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Nicky Sujadi and I have a friend here, Albert. Right, you have seen him a lot if you have been watching my channel.
Yes.
If you have not, please do check that
I
out.
hope you are not tired of me.
Yeah, hopefully we are not.
I've been recycled by Nicky too many times.
Albert here is a product manager at Tokopedia, and he has been in product manager role for close to 2 years in a few tech startup roles in Indonesia.
Yes.
Just to name a few, Traveloka and Gojek, which is my bloody competitor. So, what are the 3 types of PM interview that you can expect?
So number one, it's you might get a question that's related to building a product problem. And then you also might get a second type of question that is very data oriented. Like how you want to see how comfortable you are in using data to make decisions. And then the last one is your typical behavioral culture fit question to see if you're suitable for the culture. So if we want to look at the first type of question you can expect, it's which is building a product problem. Before you kind of answer this question, I think it's important to know like why they asked this question in the first place. So as a PM, like key to making decisions that solves customer problems. So when you get questions like this, you want to articulate that. You want to show your product sense. Like how do you identify a user problem, and then how do you come up with a solution that is impactful and able to solve that customer problem. You need to show that you have a good product visioning ability and able to be creative with your solution. Questions like this are like, name me your favorite app and why do you like it, or how can that app be improved? Or it can be a completely new product, like say our company wants to get into X market, like how would you approach entering this market with a new product? So these are the kind of questions you can expect from these questions.
Actually, that's a very good point because, as a product manager, right, they want to know whether you are obsessed with product. And that's the reason why they, ask these kind of questions. Are you the type of person that looks at a product and you're like, how I wish they have these things, this thing, right? Like, you're very analytical, very critical on a particular product. And they want to see that side of you. Right, so I think that's why this type of question is very critical, because if you answer it wrongly, and for example, an extreme bad answers would be like, oh, what can you improve from a Tokopedia app, right? You say, oh, maybe we can make the button olive green. Let's take that as an example, right?
Common pitfall, in fact, like many people they just look at the app from the surface level. Like, oh, I think the design can be tweaked in some ways, and that's typically not good enough, because if they hire you, if that's what you bring to the table, that's not going to make much impact.
Exactly.
You need to think about like what's an impactful change to the product.
Exactly.
That's what they want to see you giving your answer.
So actually, if you answer something like that, which a lot of people will do, that might be a deal breaker for a lot of other interviewers, because they're like, wait, are you saying that if I hire you, this is what you're gonna do? You're just gonna change the color, and the impact is just gonna be like that, right?
Yeah.
It's not a needle mover, and
Correct.
I think that's what Albert really wants to know, or the interviewer wants to know, is are you critical enough to find out the key issues and actually find an innovative solution that can actually move the needle, that has a huge impact.
Yes.
Right? So that's why knowing how to answer these questions is very important. And I think one good tip is actually to know what are the app that you want to actually share as an example, and what are the improvement that you also want to have in that app, because it most likely is that they will ask for a certain example. Let's go through an example of this type of questions, right? So
a better version of saying let's change the design of the button color, it's to really, so I think what you want to deep dive here is like you want to identify what is the objective of the question, like what are you trying to achieve? Is it to increase number of users, increase revenues, the revenue size of the company, and identify what the customer pain points are. I think you have to be very clear on these things first. So typically you can align with your interviewer on what these are, or you can assume on your own. So let's give an example of like a better answer to change of a color button. So say they say our objective is to increase number of users. Let's say Grab has decided to enter like groceries market. Then they're like, oh, as a product manager, help us come up with an idea on how to increase our user growth, earn a revenue out of it, and then how would you go about doing it? So as a PM, you want to this you get your objective, then you want to know who your target market is. So in this case, groceries, you can assume, say, oh, we want to target like very like working adults who are very busy. They've got no time to actually do their grocery shopping. They're often not at home and sell. They're often at their office. How do you address pain point for this particular user segment? So you have a good answer is to come up with like a strong product vision on how you solve that particular issue. So you should, I think a good tip is to think few years ahead, like what is a big thing in the next maybe 2-3 years. It doesn't have to be the next few months. It can be a feature that's more long term. So say like, oh, I think a needle mover, what will really solve this target segment's needs are, say, let's have a smart mailbox that can automatically repurchase groceries that you need, and it can be and it's also chilled. So say you have this box outside your place, it knows what you need on a day-to-day basis. It orders the goods for you, and when the delivery guy comes and deliver the product to you, they can put it in the box and it's chilled and it's sealed and it's safe. So when you come home from work, you can just unlock it. Oh, I have my groceries for the day, and that's done. Like, if you think about the problems that solution actually solve, is a lot. Like, number one, they are very busy at work, so they do not have time to actually go to the grocery stores. So if you purchase online, like there's another issue there. What if the delivery guy comes over at a certain time when you're not home? Who's going to pick up the order? So having this solution itself actually solve all those pain points for your customers. So that can be like a good product vision or solution example you want to give, and then after that, and then you need to justify why you want to build this, which was again the pain points you want to solve, and why would it be moving the needle for your company.
Got it. Wow, that's a very, very solid answer.
Yes.
So, moving on to the next type of questions is...
Yeah, so the next commonly asked question, this is actually quite similar to what you expect from a consulting interview. It's a data-based problem. So, like as a PM, you want to be very data-driven. You want to be comfortable with navigating around ambiguity. Like oftentimes you'll be in a situation like, oh, I need to launch a certain product. There's a certain matrix that's going down. Like, why is it happening? Like, they want to see how you're comfortable in knowing what data to use to make this, to find out root causes and to come up with solutions.
Okay.
So that's what they really want to see in this type of questions. So questions like this could be like, say a matrix is dropping, why is that so? Or a market sizing question, which is very typical in consulting. Like, what is what's a market size of a certain product? Okay. Yeah, so those are like your typical questions for this type of.
So they will actually ask this kind of question in the interview itself. Like, can you give an estimate of I don't know, how many people would buy
dating online app?
Oh, dating online. How many people will use dating online apps?
I've actually gotten that question before. Like, they asked me like, let's say our company is an online dating app. How many potential users do you think we have? Wow. So that was like a question I ever got before.
Serious?
Yeah, and like you have to guesstimate the numbers.
Okay.
Logically.
Okay.
To answer it correctly.
Wow. And what would be a good step to answer this type of questions?
So I think better advice if you actually look into like Victor Chang.
Yes, Victor Chang is actually a good
consulting guru, consulting interview guru.
Yeah, exactly. You can actually search him up in YouTube. He has his content is like few years old, but it's still gold.
Yeah. Right? So if you want to deep dive into the methodology, I think he would be a better guru. But
Victor Chang.
In our case, we can walk through like an example of how this might be like. So number one, you need to have they want to see your thought process. Like, how do you get to a logical number? You can't just pluck a number in the air and say like, oh, I think I think 2 million people uses online dating app. Like where do you get a number from? That's where you want to show your thought process. So you need to first have a method. So typically in market sizing, there is a top-down and bottom-up approach.
Yeah. I mean, we can definitely dive deep so much into this because it's such a... It's actually a very crucial question to really understand how you think logically and break down this type of broad questions. So if you know how to ace it well, it's actually a very good plus point for the interviewers. And if you want to know more, please again leave in the comment section down below and we'll touch it in the next video. But we want to move on to the third tip, which is
behavioral and culture fit. So again, I think most interviews will have this element there. So the first two is more about your competency, but the third one here is about whether they really want to work with you. So you need to so oftentimes here they're looking at do you fit the culture of the company? Is the way the company, like, do you suit the working style of the company essentially? Like that's what they want to assess and whether they want to work with you.
True.
Given your personality and all that. So these are like the things they want to look at in these kind of questions.
Actually, that's a very good point because a lot of companies have different way of doing things and have different values that they really advocate. You can definitely look it up in their website itself. Like for Tokopedia, they are really obsessed with, like a few matrices. The Amazon way of doing things, the customer driven and all that. And even in Grab also has their own 4H values. So you really want to make sure you show that in the interviews as well, because that will really, really shine that you really fit culturally in that company.
Yeah, and they'll ask you things like, what would you do in like certain situation? Like they want to see behaviorally how do you resolve problems and how you think about these conflicts in the office. Or maybe they will deep dive into your CV or your motivations as well.
True.
So to see that. So I've been asked before, like I was drilled before on why I was applying for that particular role. They wanted to see that you have strong enough interest and motivation to want to stick to that company. And so sometimes they really deep dive on that as well.
Wow.
Because oftentimes people just apply to a job, they are good at interviews, but so they get in, but if you don't assess their intrinsic values, they don't stay very long in the company. And let's say if they don't fit the culture.
True.
So that is one part that I think you should have prepared coming in. But at the same time, I think a tip here is to be very genuine. So if your values don't align with the company, then I don't think you should even join the company in the first place. Like it wouldn't be a good mix. It wouldn't last.
Yeah.
So being honest in this part of the interview is very important. And I think even being vulnerable to interviewer is a very refreshing aspect as well. Yes. Commonly people when asked what are your weaknesses, they might say, or what are your biggest failures, they might say, I've never failed before, or I work too hard and hence that's not a good thing, but I work very hard. That is not a weakness and it's clearly seen as not being genuine. Instead you can just be maybe not 100% honest, but you can be 80% honest about your past failures, and most important, you bring in light what you learn from them. And I think that is very refreshing.
That's a very good point. I think being vulnerable and genuine is actually the two aspects that you should cover in all the interview questions, not just for these behavioral type questions. You really just want to show the interviewer that, hey, I am a genuine person and my answer here is not made up and bullshit, because I swear interviewers can really sense bullshit because they have interviewed, I don't know, hundreds of interviewees and they really have that sensor. Bullshit sensor. These are the 3 types of interviews that you can expect for a product manager role. Thanks Albert for sharing that 3 types. Really appreciate that. And we'll definitely dive deep into some of the questions that if you want to know more, please do leave them in the comment section. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.